everyone, welcome back to the homestead. I am actually out in the greenhouse today because it's really cold outside. Winter has arrived and we've been getting some really cold nights, freezing nights. With winter comes a whole lot of new chores that we don't have to do through the summertime. So it got me thinking about off-grid living, and I thought it'd be fun to share with you all today our off-grid living experience. Just kind of throughout the day, all the different things that we do because of the fact that we're off-grid. Hey guys, I'm going to cut this in real quick. I was just doing dishes and realized that I didn't explain to y'all when I was videoing earlier about what I actually mean by off-grid for us. There's a lot of different definitions of off-grid living, and so for us that means we're not connected to any electric line, we don't have any city water, no natural gas. We do have trash service, and I think that's the only way we're connected, so to speak, is we do get a weekly trash pickup. We manage all of our own utilities, so yes, we do have to go to the store for propane tank refills. We do still use some gas and oil for our generators, that kind of thing. So technically we're not off-grid. Obviously we still get groceries from the grocery store. So some people go to the extreme in saying you're not off-grid because we still rely on things outside of our homestead. But I guess according to the modern definition of off-grid, we are off-grid. Now our situation is very unique. Not every off-grid situation is going to be like ours. There are many people who have a lot of money that they've been able to put into huge systems, and it's basically as if they're living on grid. There's not a whole lot of extra work with it. However, with us, we started with a very small budget, very small system, and since then our family has grown, and so that has led to a lot of extra expenses along the way because our original solar system was just not big enough to accommodate all of our growing needs. We're kind of in the middle of upgrading our system and having to use our generators a lot more than normal. And I will say right here in the beginning, from a financial perspective, we have not saved a lot of money being off-grid. A little bit, but where we've saved money, we've lost time because of all the maintenance and all the different activities that we have to do because we're off-grid. So if we could go back almost 10 years ago now and do it differently, would we choose to be on-grid, off-grid? It's hard to say. There's been times when the power's been off in our community and we had no clue because it didn't matter. And if for some reason the grid were to go down, life would go on for us fairly normal, although we do rely on gas, oil, propane a bit as well right now. So join with me today. I'm going to walk you through our off-grid life and just some of the extra chores that we have to do every day to accommodate this way of life. I'm usually the first or one of the first people out of bed. Sometimes it's still dark, so I did film a little bit of this video a little later in the day when we had light, but some of these things actually are done in the dark, and I couldn't film in the dark. So one of the first things I do in the morning in the summertime is close all of our windows. Our home has a lot of windows on purpose for natural light as well as for giving us air conditioning in the summertime. So through the summer we have to open all the windows in the evening when the temperatures start to cool down, and then in the morning close them all up before it starts to heat up. In the winter time we use our windows as well. Sometimes our cook stove heats us up like crazy, and when we go to bed it's so hot upstairs we have to open some of the windows. And so then we'll close them up if it gets too cold. So that's one of my first things I do when I get out of bed is deal with windows. Next I go downstairs and I turn on our switch for our lights. We turn off all of our power and our lights every evening just to conserve on any energy we possibly can. So I flip the switches for the lights in the morning, and then when we're ready to use the power, we'll switch the power on, and at nighttime Kip is usually the one to close all of that down. And so all of us have solar flashlights that we use through the night if we need to get up and use the restroom or do something in the night. And I've created these little cubby boxes at our windows where we can store all of our solar flashlights to get charged during the day. And then as a backup, if for some reason our solar system was to go down or we needed to replace a part or something, we do have oil backup for lighting if needed. Yeah, so then the next thing in the winter time, I have to open up the stove, I open up the ashtray and the damper or whatever it's called, just to get the fire going again. Kip is the one that stokes it really well at nighttime, so then in the morning there's usually a nice bed of coals. So I just opened it up to get that airflow going and to get it burning again. Sometimes there will be little small wood that I can throw in. Other times it's just big wood left behind, and so I'll have to go out to the woodshed and get some small pieces of wood to get that cook stove going again. And that is what we use for cooking and for heat all winter long. So like this morning I made biscuits, some fried eggs. We had some of our homemade jam and jelly, which was a real treat. And I just love having the cook stove. It does take a lot of wood. For the most part right now we actually buy our firewood. We've got some really good neighbors that we're able to purchase firewood from, and that helps them out and it helps us out tremendously. We definitely have enough wood on our land that we could get all of our own firewood, but at this point it's more cost effective for us to pay for the wood than to go out and gather it ourselves. So a lot of work goes into keeping the house warm and being able to cook through the winter time, from restoking the fire in the morning, gathering the wood and keeping it going all day long. Joseph is one of the ones that helps gather the wood. Of course the older boys help with stoking it all day long. Kip does the final big stoking later at night, so it stays going all night long. And then on really cold nights like we've been having, we have a whole nother system out in our addition because it's the north side and our cook stove does not get into that area. So we had some friends build a masonry rocket mass system, and so like this morning I went out and checked that one to see if there were any coals left, and I saw some little light down in the bottom, so I added some wood. Thankfully there was some wood left behind. I was able to just stoke that one right up again, and we'll probably keep that one going off and on through the colder nights through the winter. That helps to keep our water lines from freezing because our big water tank is connected to that room, and so is the plumbing that feeds our whole cabin. So that's how we keep our heat going all winter long. There are a few other chores connected with that. Ashes have to be emptied out of both units. We usually have to empty the ashes once or twice a week in the cook stove, and we use that for dust bath in the chicken yards. We also add it to our compost, and then also we have to empty out a little box in the back of our cook stove that builds up with creosote. Not super fast, there's just a little bit that we have to clear out once a week, so that's another chore that has to happen so that that little box doesn't fill up with creosote. For summer cooking, we have a propane stove and oven that's out on our patio area. And so we just keep small propane tanks stocked. I kind of keep track of where we're at with that and make sure that we always have a spare full propane tank on hand for that. And then I also have a sun oven, which works really well if it's going to be a nice sunny day out, and I use that a lot throughout the summer. It's a bit of work, it's heavy, a little cumbersome to set up, and you do have to get it set up about a half hour or so before you want to actually cook something, maybe longer depending on the day. And then throughout the day you have to go and reposition it toward the sun if you need to cook something at a high temperature. But super valuable tool and resource. If you are thinking of going off grid, I highly recommend a sun oven. We have the All-American sun oven. You can get it off of Amazon, I believe. Alright, so next I'll move on to water. We have all of our own water systems. We started with rainwater catchment. Those systems have to be maintained pretty regularly. We have to clean out little filters, make sure everything's flowing properly, close off valves and things before winter so that things don't freeze. Our main tank to the house is set up for rainwater catchment that's currently not working great, so we do have to fill that tank periodically from our well. So we did get a solar well a few years ago, which was wonderful. It only works when the sun is shining though. We have to constantly be thinking about that. We use the well water for filling our main house tank periodically if we don't have enough rainwater catchment. Cats are fighting outside. But our well is mainly used for all the animal waters, especially the cows, and then for watering the garden. We just got a watering system for our garden this last year, and So when the sun is shining, we're able to use that to water the gardens. We do hope to put a battery bank on the solar well so that we can use it even if the sun is not shining, and then we'd like to get a hand pump on it as well. So if for some reason the whole solar system goes down, we can still pump water out of our well. So for all the different activities that use water, it's probably a little different than you're used to. For example, doing dishes, I have to heat up pots because though we have a solar hot water system, it's very old and does not work very well. So most of the year I have to heat up water pots for dishes. We also heat up those same water pots for baths. We have a bathtub, but we don't have enough pressure to our shower head to take showers, so everybody takes baths. So you can imagine heating up pots of water for a family of 9 to all take baths. It takes quite a while, but we've got a system down, and we've got it to where it goes pretty efficiently. For laundry, I do have a regular washer. I am not going to tell you what kind or recommend it because it is not the best washer. We had to set up a whole special system for the washer because we did not know that it had a computer chip that would require a certain amount of pressure. All we have is gravity fed pressure to our whole cabin. So we had to set up an inline pump. So in order to do laundry, I have to get the generator going to run the pump, which then will put the right amount of water in and keep the washer going. And then I don't have a dryer, so I pretty much only do laundry on sunny days when I know that there's going to be enough sunshine to dry everything outside on racks. In the wintertime, I'm able to set the racks in front of our cook stove to dry, which is really nice, although it takes up all of our floor space. So anyway, that's how I do laundry. I often have to re-wash clothes that come out of the laundry because for some reason, I don't know if it's our water or if it's just the machine itself, things sometimes come out dirtier than when they went in, and I'll have to then do a separate hand wash on certain items. So we've gotten the comment oftentimes that our children's clothes are always dirty. They aren't dirty, they're just stained. Our washer just does not do a great job. Anyway, that's beside the point. Our children don't run around filthy dirty. Trust me, we wash their clothes. The washer does the first wash, and then if they need more, I'll do hand washing. But stains are an issue. When you live on a farm, there's just a lot of dirt. The children play a lot and their clothes get very dirty. We also love blueberries, which stain. Our children's clothes are clean. They're just very stained, and I'm okay with that. Alright, so next I'll move on to another chore that's pretty much first thing in the morning, especially in the summertime. It doesn't have to be as early in the morning in the winter, but that is powering our freezer. We have a small chest freezer in the front patio area, and that also runs our cold box because we have ice blocks in there, and that's another chore that needs to be done every day. The ice blocks have to be switched out from the freezer to the cold box, and we have 2 sets, so we move them, rotate them back and forth. Eventually I would like to have a little simpler system, possibly just freezing a small bucket of some sort in the freezer and then putting that into the cold box, but I just don't have enough room in our current cold box to make that system work. So imagine it kind of like camping. If you've ever gone camping and you've got your cooler and you've got to keep ice in it every day and make sure everything's cold. That's our everyday system. It's like we're camping all year long. The chest is the best, most efficient way to keep things cold because you're lifting the lid from the top, so cold air tends to fall, versus opening a door from the side and then all that cold air comes out the side. However, the time that I spent trying to keep the chest cooler for our icebox organized and stuff, I spend so much time trying to deal with items and maneuver items and organize it that I think I am going to switch to just like a small stand-up refrigerator and still do the ice blocks. I think that'll make my life so much simpler. We'll see. Besides the freezer and our small chest that we use as a refrigerator or cold box, we also have a root cellar and a cold pantry that's in our addition. And so I am able to use the root cellar and the pantry for certain items during certain times of the year. A lot of people think that if you have a cellar or a cold pantry, you can just kind of store anything all year long, but that's not the case for us. Our root cellar is actually too warm in the summertime currently to store pretty much of anything. but it's great in the winter. It stays just above freezing all winter long. It's the same with our pantry and our addition. It gets a little too warm actually in the summertime to store certain items, but in the winter time it stays nice and cool. So that freezer is powered by our solar system, and as I said, it's kind of in transition right now. So we've had to use our generator a lot, especially on cloudy days. So that requires making sure we have gas and oil, doing regular oil changes. Then we also often have to use a solar generator on our freezer. We've got 3 solar generators right now. One is a new one Kip's going to share with you right now because they are the sponsor for today's video. So I'm going to let Kip tell you about that solar generator real quick.
Alright, so today's video is sponsored by OUPES. OUPES has a pretty good line of off-grid power solutions. This generator is a 1200 watts, so 1200 watts generator, and we've been putting this thing to the test for about 2-3 months. It has done well. It's been running this freezer right here. It'll run this freezer for a full day.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good for a little generator, and it recovers really well. Its charge time is lower than other brands, let's just say. And so thank you so much, OUPES, for this. And you can see on here, I mean, what all can it charge? It's got 3 outlets, regular receptacles, and then USB ports, power charging. It can power all kinds of things for you. And then the way it can charge back up is by solar panels. You can plug it right into regular outlet and charge it that way, or you can charge it via a generator and plug in the outlet.
Yeah.
So
Super versatile.
Very versatile. Yep. And to be able to pick this up and take it wherever you need it without gas and all that kind of stuff, it's a huge benefit. So I recommend OUPES. It's done really well for it. And so if you're wanting an off-grid power solution like we have here, check out the link below. I believe there's also a discount code connected with it, and I think it's 10% off. We'll confirm all that kind of good stuff when we put it in the link below.
So there's some general maintenance with the solar system that not everyone knows about. The batteries have to be maintenance depending on what kind of batteries you have periodically. Solar panels have to be cleaned off, dusted in the summertime, cleaned of snow and ice and things in the wintertime. And then you just got to keep track of all the components and make sure that you have replacements if need be for any of the components if they go bad. When you're not on the grid and a solar system is what you're using for your lights and computers and all of that, if a part in your system fails, then your whole house is down and you've got to fix it quickly. And another aspect of living off grid is our system's not quite big enough to run power tools. So all of the power tools have to be run off of the generator, or Kip and the boys have been switching over to DeWalt battery powered. So that's been really helpful. They're able to charge the batteries on our solar system during the day when the sun's good, and then run their tools that way. So they've got to be constantly thinking about what tools they're going to be needing and whether the batteries are charged, and then sometimes they'll have to put a project on hold for a little while battery is charging. So yeah, it's not as easy as just going and plugging in and doing what you need to do. Another morning, afternoon, and evening chore. The children share this. Each one, Esther's in the morning, Joseph's lunchtime, and Nate's dinner time, is the chore of keeping our drinking water full. We use a Berkey, a huge Berkey filtration system, and we put 2 gallons in 3 times a day. We get that water from our bathtub, if need be, from our rainwater catchment tank. If our spring is running, we'll get that water from the spring. Or if it's sunny, they will get water from our well. And we put all of our drinking water through the Berkey. We can drink from the well. We could probably drink from our spring. I wouldn't drink from our rainwater catchment. But in any case, we just put it all through the Berkey. It keeps the habit and system going every day. So that's another task that we have to deal with. We don't just go turn on our tap for drinking water. There's chores that have to be done to keep our drinking water flowing. Alright, so what about water on the other end? Gray water, black water, all of that. We do not have a septic tank. We do have a gray water system, and so we do have to make sure that we keep that line clear. We've got a snake that we use to snake it out periodically. We put boiling water, vinegar down the line just to try and keep that line clear, because we have had it back up and then our root cellar flooded because of it, which I won't go into all the details of that, but that's our gray water system. It just flows out of our house through a French drain and then down just on a hillside. And then we don't have any black water at all. We do composting toilets. And so twice a day, Joshua and Nathan share the chore of changing out our composting toilet. And then it's Joseph's job to keep our sawdust filled. Right next to our toilet we have a slot for a bucket, 5-gallon bucket to go down into, and so Joseph's job is to keep that full of sawdust because we use sawdust as our carbon material to mix in with the composting toilet. Another issue we deal with off-grid that requires a little extra thought and work is dealing with humidity levels. We have really high humidity levels through the summertime, so I hang the little dehumidifier bags all over the house, and so those have got to be changed out periodically. They fill up pretty fast for us. And then I do have to check for mildew. We have certain areas of the house that don't get a lot of airflow yet. We're working on that. And so sometimes there will be little bits of mildew that need to be cleaned up. And we have to be careful not to hang anything wet in the house during the summertime. Anything wet has to be kept out of the house to not add any more moisture to the house. And then it's the exact opposite in the wintertime. In the wintertime, it's so very dry that we have to try and find ways to put moisture back into the air. So I keep pots with water on our stove to evaporate the air, and those have to be kept filled. They empty very fast, so I'm constantly having to keep those filled. And then we purposely try and hang wet clothes in the house. Sometimes I'll give the kids a spray bottle and they'll just kind of spray mist into the air to get a little bit more moisture into the air. Alright guys, so this has just been a quick overview of our off-grid situation and the things that we do day in and day out. Many of these things have just become habit. I don't really think about them anymore. They're just regular chores for the family. We all work together to keep things running. And like I said at the beginning, our situation is totally unique. If you're thinking of going off-grid, don't let our story scare you. If you have a significant amount to invest in a nice solar system and can make sure that you have room to upgrade it if need be, that'd be fantastic. We still have a lot of things that we're working on to make our lives simpler off-grid, and it's just a journey. It's been a learning experience for us, and I'm glad that we chose to be off-grid. Sometimes I miss a lot of the comforts of being on-grid, but I'm really thankful to have all the resources that we do have, and I'm glad that we've got systems that are fairly sustainable. We do rely still obviously a lot on being able to get gas, propane, oil, things like that, but we have enough experience at this point that we weren't able to get any of that anymore. We could still carry on with life pretty much as normal, and that's a really good feeling. So off-grid living is definitely not for everyone, and I'm not saying that everyone should go off grid at all, by no means. But I thought it might be interesting to some of you out there to kind of hear our story and what our life is like day in and day out living this way. So I hope that was interesting to you. If you like our videos and you have not subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button below. Thank you as always to our patrons for making these videos possible. We truly appreciate you guys. And until next time, we pray blessings over you and yours. And whatever you do, do it with your whole heart.